Hello and welcome to Cut Through the Noise, the podcast that helps business leaders and professionals increase your impact through elevated communications and marketing. It's my aim to help you tell your story with clarity and confidence. I'm your host, Aisling O'Rourke, aka the Communications Coach, and it's great to be back with season 8 of the podcast. If you've listened to me before, you'll know that this show is all about helping you use communications to strengthen your business. And this time we're starting exactly where that impact begins, inside your own organization. In Series 8, we're diving into something I feel incredibly strongly about, and that's internal communications. Why? Well, because I believe that the evidence backs it up that how we communicate with our teams, our colleagues, and even ourselves as leaders can either be the hidden engine of success or the slow burning cause of failure. Let's face it, too often internal communications is treated as an afterthought. A newsletter no one reads, a half baked Zoom update, or a one-way announcement that leaves more questions than answers. The hard truth of the matter is that poor internal communications costs businesses money, real money. According to research by the Holmes Report, organizations with effective communication strategies experience 47% higher total returns to shareholders, but on the opposite side of that, miscommunication costs businesses an average of $62 million per year. No, that's not a typo. That's $62 million a year. And yes, that is a US based figure, but the principle applies regardless of country. Confusion, mixed messages, assumptions, they don't just cause frustration, they slow down decision making, drive up staff turnover, and erode trust internally and externally. And once trust is gone, getting it back is a lot more costly. So, in today's episode, I want to unpack why internal communications isn't just a nice to have, what happens when it's neglected, and how we as leaders at any level can make a small, consistent changes to put it all right. Let's start with a scenario that I'm sure many of you will recognize. You're in a team meeting, the senior manager gives a broad strokes update about a strategic pivot or a new direction. There's nodding, maybe a few polite questions. But once the meeting ends, the real talk begins in the corridors, the WhatsApp group, or even another Zoom call. No one's quite sure what was said or what it actually means for them, their role, what happens next, or even what's expected of them, as in frequently an announcement is made and then the question is asked, well, okay, am I supposed to do something with this information? Like, what's the call to action here? That's not leadership, it's theatre. And it doesn't just leave the team feeling unsettled, it leaves them disengaged. It leaves them distracted, quite frankly. They're focusing on trying to figure out what they're supposed to think of this announcement as opposed to doing the work. Now, look, I'm not saying that every internal message needs to be polished within an inch of its life, but I am saying that clear, honest, and frequent communication that does contain a bit of empathy needs to be a core part of how you lead. That's especially true in times of change. And let's be honest, when isn't there change? Over this series, I'll be joined by some brilliant guests who are all working to build better workplaces through smarter communications. Shay Agbede will join me to explore what inclusive leadership really means and how internal communications can reinforce or undermine your efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Andrea O'Grady will talk about physical wellness and mental wellness, and while internal messaging and physical movement around well-being has to go beyond platitudes, We have to be encouraging things like movement snacks in the workplace to really show that as leaders, we care about our team members and we want them to have longevity in our organizations. And Alec Drew, a seasoned expert in workplace culture, will help us understand how to lead multi generational teams with empathy, especially when communication preferences vary so widely, depending, yes, on age and background, but also life experience. Together, we're going to explore how to turn internal comms from an afterthought into an asset, a lever that leaders can pull to motivate, clarify, and more importantly, retain. For today, let me offer 3 quick tips to get you started. Tip 1: communicate early and often. Don't wait until you've got the perfectly formed plan before saying anything. People can handle uncertainty. Seriously, your team can handle uncertainty. They can handle uncertainty better than they will handle silence. A simple, here's what we know and here's what we don't, can do wonders. Providing clear and concise information brings your team along with you on the journey. Silence will lead a vacuum to be filled by assumptions and misunderstandings. Tip 2: listen more than you speak. Internal communications is not just downward. It has to be multi-directional. Invite feedback and take it seriously. Show that you've acted on it. That loop is critical to building trust. Tip 3: match your messaging to your values. And this is something that we all need to think about and take seriously. So, for example, if your brand, your brand values, if you're talking about transparency, then your internal updates need to reflect that. If you say you care about staff well-being, then the way you deliver change, even difficult change, needs to support that. Good internal communication is not just about managing information, it's about managing emotion, expectation, and connection. In a world where talent is mobile and culture is a competitive edge, you simply can't afford to ignore it. And you really have to think about, what are you saying about how great your business is or organization is? What are you putting out into the world? And does that message reflect the reality of your employees, your coworkers, your colleagues, your clients? Your values must match your messaging. Now, I said I'll give you 3 tips, but here's a bonus one. Leaders cannot afford to make assumptions. Never assume the team has read the agenda before the meeting, or they've somehow been updated on the recent changes through informal workplace chatter. Nothing as a communications coach irks me more than hearing leaders start a meeting with, as we all know. I hate it. Can't stand it. It gives me the chills. Because invariably there's somebody in the meeting, in the conversation, that hasn't a clue what you're talking about or even why they've been included in the conversation. Assumptions cause confusion, which costs time and money. Your company cannot afford it. Never make assumptions. There's a well-known phrase that goes with the word assumptions, which I'm not going to repeat here because that wouldn't be very professional of me, but it is true. So that's a wrap on episode 1 of series 8. I hope you have something to think about after today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. If you're a leader or manager or just someone who's tired of confusion and crossed wires, then this series is for you. If you're new here, don't forget to follow Cut Through the Noise on your favorite podcast platform. And if you found today's episode helpful, please do give us a review and share it with a colleague. Next time, I'll be speaking with Shay Agbeide about inclusive leadership and what that looks like in action, and how communications can either build bridges or reinforce barriers. And I can't wait for you to hear that conversation. I really enjoyed my chat with Shane. Until then, as I always say, remember, while content may well be king, clarity is key if you want to stand out from the crowd and cut through the noise.